Released June 16, 2019 by developer and publisher Viva Games for PSVR, and then on May 21, 2020 for PCVR. Then a flat version, which I have absolutely no interest in, was released for the Xbox One September 30, 2021 by eHome Entertainment. Immortal Legacy: The Jade Cipher was one of the earliest PSVR games I ever played. One of the earliest VR games I played, period, since that's where I started my VR journey on the PSVR 1. While it suffered from a lot of that fetal stage experimental VR era jank, coupled with the PSVR 1's move controller's handicap, it still managed to interest me. It took me years to finally get to this review, but I have to say Immortal Legacy: The Jade Cipher deserves a bit more love than it's received so far. The story of the Jade Cipher kinda reminds me of Bright Memory Infinite. It feels really thrown together, like there was very little thought put into it. It feels very similar to the way Bright Memory's story felt. Like I started watching a movie in the middle or close to the end, or I started watching a series or caught a franchise somewhere mid-season, where the story already started and I just hopped in at a point that rendered it incoherent. I leave a generic spoiler warning at the beginning of all my reviews, but believe me when I say, I couldn't spoil the story even if I wanted to. It starts with a plane ride that goes to hell in a minute, with characters talking about things the developer seems to expect the viewer to already know about. Take this for example. If you started playing any Batman game, and at the beginning you saw Bruce Wayne talking to Alfred about the Joker, you totally get that, because Bruce Wayne has been talking to Alfred about the Joker for decades. Even people who have no interest in comic books and superheroes may know about this, but I have no prior knowledge of any of what is being discussed or unfolding in the Jade Cipher, but it's thrown at me like this should all be common knowledge, just like Bright Memory.
I got there too late to save her. You have your mother's smile.
Well, maybe the devs aren't crazy. Maybe they aren't just terrible at storytelling. Perhaps it's just me missing out on some popular lore that everyone else knows about. Who knows?
There is so much evil buried on this island, lurking beneath the surface. Sana, I got the Jade.
Either way, I have little to no clue what was really going on here, and the little I pieced together, or perhaps made up, I'll keep to myself for two reasons. One, I do not want to spoil it for anyone out there who's never played this, as this is a decent game and deserves more love. And two, well, me trying to explain the little I think I figured out from this story may only serve to make me look like an ass putting his foot in his own mouth.
Welcome aboard the M3C Perseus Maritime Patrol aircraft. The M3C Perseus is equipped with a Mark IV fusion reactor.
The visuals here for an early PSVR title are pretty impressive, and like I said, this review took me literal years to put together, as I stopped playing it a lot out of frustration and intimidation with the move controllers, so I only completed this game last month, March 2023. My point is, between 2019 to present day, for a PSVR 1 game, the Jade Cipher looks really good, like surprisingly good, even in the headset. Now, I played it on a PS4 Pro, but the textures are sharp, the character models are pretty good, even with some janky animations at times. The gun models look good, draw distances are handled well, the cutscenes are in actual VR, not some flat images, and most notably, this game looks better than any native Quest 2 title I've ever played, and at this stage in the VR game, that speaks volumes for a 2019 PSVR game. Main issue I found with the visuals though, was my character's arms. Not only did they feel just like Survive, like they were coming out of my neck, but the animations would get real janky a lot of times. Over in sound, the score is good, fitting for what this is. The atmospheric sounds, the sound effects, no complaints here. The 3D sounds when using the earbuds all seem accurate as well. However, the voice acting is pretty bad. This is ranked in the bad B-movie voice acting category. Like I often say, there's good B-movie acting, and then there's this.
Alright, have plenty of time.
I beg you, ma'am! We've powered every inch of the surface! It is not here! Please spare me, please!
Listening to that girl, a cookie pie, or whatever she's called, it makes me want to schedule an appointment for an ear exam to check for inner bleeding.
Unhand cookie pie! Let me go! Oh!
Hey, sweetheart. How old are you?
Gameplay. This is a mixed bag, but other than the visuals and sound, this is what kept me coming back over the years, and also what left me with a great feeling of accomplishment after seeing the credits roll. On startup, we got a decent selection of options. For audio, we got sound output, language, subtitles on or off. Then for controller options, we have 3 schemes to choose from. The controls, like I alluded to earlier, were my main gripe with the Jade Cipher. It started out ridiculously bad. Really bad. In the early days was when the devs added the 3 control options. And that did help, but not enough to make this experience anything near optimal or even intuitive. It took a lot of getting used to, moving with buttons instead of sticks, and in the early days, for whatever reason, these devs were unable to come up with the best versions of control options we have today for PSVR 1 titles, like you've seen Survive, Blair Witch VR, and The Tale of Onagoro. So we had to be fumbling about with what we were given here in Immortal Legacy, the Jade Cipher. It does seem, however, though the controls were awkward and counterintuitive, the devs were well aware of this handicap. There was never a point where I felt like I was thrown off in the deepest end possible. Although the controls felt bad, I was always able to make my way eventually. The controls are not game-breaking, is what I'm saying. Even in the boss fights, particularly the final boss, this boss seems to have been designed with a handicap in mind. So although it took me several attempts to take it down, it was still doable, and this obviously goes for all boss encounters and the entire game. Walking was real slow though, and even when sprinting, it never felt like much of a sprint. Many times I wish I could have picked up the pace a bit more. The inventory system also felt cumbersome and again, counterintuitive, with very limited space. There were also times when I picked up an item and I couldn't put it down. So if I wanted to make space, my options in this already limited inventory was even more scarce. The Jade Cipher also had a somewhat jarring change of pace. It started out feeling like an action-adventure, Uncharted-like game, then soon after turned into a more survival horror-feeling game once you went underground. Coming back to the bosses, really creative designs. I like the direction the developers went with this. Like I said before, they were never too much for the clunky controls, and they certainly were not a copy and paste job of each other either. So well balanced, well designed. The overall difficulty here was also well balanced, and my greatest challenge was becoming acclimated with the controls. Even the handful of puzzles were tolerable. I only got stuck on one, which after many attempts, good old trial and error prevailed. After years of picking this game up, parking it, then resuming, I'm going to have to say it was all worth it. The ending leaves room for a sequel, and if there is one, as convoluted as the plot is, I'd hop on board, especially with better controls and the overall growth of VR since inception. I can only imagine what the devs would come up with after seeing what an interesting job they did on this so early out in VR's life. Good job, Viva Games. Thank you for watching. If you like my content, feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Check out my live streams here and over on Trovo Live as well. Let's say on the other hand I pissed you off with this one though. Feel free to dislike, unsub, leave a feisty comment to help relieve some of that built up anger you got bottled up inside. Whatever it takes to make you feel vindicated, partner. Either way, I won't hold it against you. Our game is never over.
Hope that's the last of him.